Hey, the champ is here. Da, 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 da.
Oh, that little black lump on the bit.
How dare you?
Rubbish.
That is
rubbish. The worst cultaholic champion
how
I've ever seen.
How dare you? How dare you? He is proudly representing the brand right now. Look at that.
It doesn't look like it.
He's
sleeping on the job.
He's sleeping,
Wake
so
him
he
up,
can.
Tom.
He can.
Wake him up.
I ain't
Wake him
waking.
up.
Are you kidding me? He's a champion. Batter me. No chance, Sundance. Here is your wrestling news. There's the cat. Here's the wrestling news. A top WWE champion is in doubt for WrestleMania 37. Has a SmackDown storyline been quietly scrapped? And we have more details on a backstage WWE staff shakeup. We'll get to that in a bit. 29 days until WrestleMania. We talked in the previous news video how some of the plans are still a little bit up in the air, and the presence of one of its champions for WWE in doubt now as well, Adam.
That's right, a big one as well. Asuka, who is, of course, out at the moment with a concussion after the kick by Shayna Baszler on Raw. Dave Meltzer basically casting doubt on whether or not Asuka will be able to compete at WrestleMania. She's, of course, the Raw Women's Champion. He says the problem with a concussion is that she could be fine next week, or she could not be cleared for a long time, and you never know. There's enough time left that she probably would be back for Mania, but that is not a sure thing, which is gutting. It really, really is. I want Asuka to have a nice, strong WrestleMania showing. I'm not too fussed about the match with Charlotte Flair, which is obviously the plan at the moment. But it could result in the Raw Women's Championship not even being defended. Or maybe, if the concussion is worse than originally thought, she could even be stripped of the title. Pure speculation, but it could happen. They'll want that belt defended at Mania, surely.
They surely would, and it would be sad if Asuka doesn't make it to WrestleMania. I'm a little bit like this about her title reign in general. She's had the belt since she was awarded it by Becky Lynch, post Money in the Bank, and she's had some decent matches, but I feel like the competition has sort of fallen off in the sort of tail end of last year. There hasn't been that many really meaty defenses, and I feel like, and it's a shame to say this, I feel like she got lost in the shuffle a little bit.
She did, which is such a huge shame, because in 2020 she was such an asset to WWE. She really sort of held Raw together, especially in the early lockdown months. So yeah, it would be a shame. Hopefully she'll be back in time, but we'll see.
Fingers crossed to Asuka getting much better in time for WrestleMania. That's what's going on Monday Night Raw. Meanwhile, on SmackDown, a story that started on Monday Night Raw. You mentioned then about Raw during the lockdown era. On Raw, we had Asuka storming it for a big part of it, and we had a seemingly never-ending storyline between Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins, one that was so good they had to move it to Fridays as well. And it's all gone a bit quiet on that front, and Murphy has addressed this on Instagram.
Yeah, replying to one of WWE's posts of him on SmackDown with Seth Rollins, where it at the moment perhaps looks like Murphy's trying to weasel his way back in and be what would you call him, the follower to Seth Rollins' leader,
the disciple.
That's the one. There you go.
The disciple.
That's the word. So Murphy commenting on this, which he's since deleted because I think he's probably jumped the gun or got a little bit of a heat for it. But his comment is as follows. Let's point out the obvious. The Mysterios used me. I never needed them. I'm beyond one of the most talented in-ring performers on the planet. He's not wrong there. Aaliyah used me to be on TV and advance an acting career. Dominic used me so he had a reason to stand ringside. Ray was jealous that I became the new face of the cruiserweight division, I guess that means, and he was left out of the discussion. They took what they wanted, then they left me in the shadows. Sounds like my time in NXT.
I like to think that he said that like that as he typed it. That felt like an episode of Points of View, that did. That was
I really
wonderful.
feel for him. I really feel for him because, like, obviously the storyline was crap, but they did the face turn at the end. I was looking forward to seeing a baby face Buddy Murphy because we predominantly seen him in a heel role. I wanted to see if that would work, but it looks like Aaliyah has gone off and she's going to be doing some acting, so they can't continue with that storyline there. So I don't want to say it's a shame because I didn't really want to see them paired together, but I was looking forward to a babyface Murphy.
Yeah, it is frustrating that we had what felt like a big build-up to absolutely nothing happening. This brings us to AEW Revolution and the barbed wire deathmatch botch at the end of the night, which is eerily similar. So we've had a bit of an update on this. It seems to be a story that we've all got our teeth into this week, the exploding ring that didn't exploding ring. And we have further update on that today, don't we, Adam?
We do. I'm going to start with the good news here regarding AEW Revolution, and that is that it's brought in a hell of a lot of cash. So the show generated more money than any non-WWE show in the United States in almost 22 years.
Jeez.
And aside from the WWE 94 to 99 era of WCW, more than any other show in US history. So it's been a long time since something has made. And it's grossed in excess of $6 million, closer to $7 million apparently. And AEW will take a percentage, speculated around 50% of that because of obviously the split with the distribution and on-demand partners. However, we're not here to talk about the success. We're here to talk about the miserable failure, of course. And that is the exploding ring botch. So the update is that the finish was actually tested multiple times, and it worked great every single time. Until the end of the pay-per-view, when it counted, it didn't work. He says, anyone who has dealt with pyro knows there are duds, and the wrestlers didn't have a backup plan, which resulted in, and I quote, the most negative feedback to an AEW show in history. And Meltzer's not wrong there, is he?
No, absolutely not. And it's a shame because, as you say there, it's a show that has done such good numbers for AEW. And the show itself was actually really good. Like, we talked about this on Graded. Like, I thought it was a really solid show from AEW. It was just such a shame that it ended on such a bum note with the non-exploding ring.
Yeah, and that's all people are going to remember, really, isn't it? I think there were some really solid matches on the card. Certainly not one of AEW's best shows ever, but it was good. It's just a shame that we're talking about this once again. Hey, I think they did the best that they could on Dynamite this week, addressing it in a storyline, kayfabe sense.
Yeah, they actually made it into an interesting little twist. So I'm very, very that was excellent work by Eddie Kingston especially. Give that man the championship. Have him beat Kenny. I'm just putting that out into the world.
Page, Hangman Page.
I was going to say Paige, she's for WWE. Paige to beat Omega. Book it, Vince. WWE news now. WrestleMania is, as we say, 29 days away. And we've got some details on WrestleMania 37 in so much as how many people are going to be there. So
That's right.
This is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. WWE have been communicating with all of the big local hotels, and they've told them that they want to run the Raymond James Stadium at 75% capacity. So the goal right now is 45,000 each night, which in WWE WrestleMania terms means this is the biggest WrestleMania ever because they're going to announce it at about 200,000 on the night. You did it, Vince! You finally got what you know.
It's Hogan slamming Andre, but it takes 2 days to do.
I mean, it's a hell of a lot of people. It's obviously very, very concerning to say the least.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be that many. I was hearing 20,000.
Yes, that's what I've heard up until this point, but apparently the goal is 45,000.
Wowzers. I don't know. Okay, here's a question. If you lived in Tampa, would you be going?
No.
No?
I wouldn't feel safe about it. Plus the card's a bit wank as well. No, it's Mania. I'm very excited to see how it plays out on screen, but those sort of numbers are very, very worrying.
Let's talk about the card. Dave Meltzer in The Observer's given us an update on some of the matches.
He has. It's basically what we knew already. He's saying that the key matches at WrestleMania are appearing to be a lot. We've already talked about this a little bit this morning, so we will breeze through this. Roman Reigns versus Edge, obviously. Bobby Lashley versus Drew. Apparently that will be a singles match. Orton versus The Fiend in some kind of gimmick match. Will it be Firefly Funhouse again? We'll see. Braun versus Shane. We knew that was coming. Sasha versus Bianca. That's confirmed. And he's just given us a quick update as well on Miz and Morrison versus Priest and Bad Bunny, which is obviously the rumored tag match. It's almost definitely going to happen. Apparently, the reason that nothing's really being done, that it's not been addressed on TV in recent weeks, is because Miz has been getting Lashley ready for his main event, and Bunny is getting ready. Bunny is getting ready for his performance at the Grammys on the 14th. So there you go. That's why it's not.
That's why they've not been doing anything.
Yeah.
As they've had other things to think about. And finally, we end with some backstage flavoured shenanigans. We've been talking this week about the return of People Power to WWE. John Laryngitis making a return to the company. And in a role that he was doing about 8 years ago. What's the status now backstage? Because we've got a bit of an insight into what's happening there.
That's right. So Mark Carrano is going to remain in the role of the guy who basically gets all the heat from the wrestlers. He is the bearer of bad news, essentially. So they're all going to hate him. While it sounds like Johnny Ace is just going to be sat behind a desk making those decisions. It sounds quite cushy. But yeah, Carrano is now going to be reporting to Laurinaitis. It's been described that Laurinaitis has always had a smile for Vince, Meltzer says, and won't challenge him. And like the hiring of Bruce Pritchard, Vince is right now a guy who wants to be told that everything is great, which is funny because he's so much not the old Vince in that way. He doesn't want to be challenged, and this backstage shakeup is all to do with keeping Vince happy, and you're a good man, Vince.
Just keeping him away from everybody and just getting people to feed him the answers they want. I'm sorry, all I can think about since you mentioned Carrano, all I'm thinking about is an actual bear of bad news.
A bear of bad news?
Just a grizzly bear that brings you parking fines.
Listen, if I was in Laurinaitis' position,
you'd be a bear of bad news.
Oh man, Vince would be bent over. I'd be licking his ass every day. It's big money, that job. Call me, Vince. I'm up for it. Seriously.
On that bombshell, love you, bye.